I'd like to call to order today for regular meeting Thursday, June 18th. If there's anyone that is downstairs that wants to fill out a blue slip on anything, on any item, please fill it out and they will get it to us. And I'd like to ask everyone to please silence their phones and put it on vibrate. I'm going to call Mr. Abshar for invocation and the pledge.
Please join with me. Dear Lord, I pray that you guide us as always. Satisfy the needs that need to be met. Strengthen us as we make some tough decisions. I pray that we will be fruitful, Father. Please guide us so that this meeting can be productive. Let us be effective and decisive. Amen.
Amen.
Please face the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And as always, raise your hand so my vice can see you on this end, on my left side. Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Yes, sir. Vice President Abshar.
Here.
Mr. Anderson.
Here.
Mr. Barrett.
Here.
Mr. Barty.
Here.
Mr. Bryan.
Here.
Mr. Burley.
Here.
Mr. Hayes.
Here.
Mr. Landry.
Here.
Mr. Lewis.
Here.
Mr. Markenstein.
Here.
Mr. Richard.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mr. Stelly.
Here.
Mr. Giamatti.
Here.
And President Gillen.
Here.
Everyone is present.
Thank you. We're going to skip number 4 and come back at 6 o'clock. We're going to move to item 5. Take appropriate action on applications for liquor and beer permits.
So moved.
Mr. Bean.
We have one application we recommend approval.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Barris and a second by Mr. Landry. Is there any discussion? Any objection? That motion carries. Item 6, consideration of approving the minutes of the regular meeting of the
Second.
police jury dated May 21st, 2020. I have a motion by Mr. Abshar and a second by Mr. Stelly. Is there any discussion? Any objection? That motion carries. Item 7,
So moved.
consideration of approving payments of all current invoices and advised regular monthly budget to actual comparisons. I have a motion by Mr. Anderpont and a second by Mr. Smith. Is there any discussion? Any objection? That motion carries. Item 8, consideration of adopting a resolution in support of an application to the U.S. Department of Commerce for a foreign trade zone 87 subzone designation by the Lake Charles LNG Export Company, LLC. I have a motion by Mr. Brame and a second by Mr. Burley. Is there any other discussion? Any objection?
Mr. President.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Rain.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Brian, can you kind of explain some of this? Is this the Shell Oil Agreement, Lake Charles LNG?
No, Mr. Brame, it is for that facility, the foreign, the trade zone, y'all have done this a few times. The port does the application. Lake Charles LNG as a project, you're correct, it is for that area, that physical property where they currently, of course, had the old import facility, but this would cover it if and when they do the LNG export as well. So it's not related to the project getting done or not, but it sets it in motion and has this in place when they do it. So Shell, to answer your question, actually backed out of that as a partnership, but Energy Transfer still has it, and their communications with us are saying they still believe this is a viable project for the future, and I know the conditions have to get better, but it has not been canceled.
Okay, that's one of the reasons for my question, because I did think, remember that Shell backed out.
You are correct. They did back out of this one.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Any objection? That motion carries. Item 9, consideration of adopting a resolution to study the feasibility of reclassifying certain tracts of land in Ward 4 from agriculture, single-family residential, and mixed residential to a commercial or industrial zoning classification. I have a motion by Mr. Burley and a second by Mr. Barris. Question, Mr. Stelly.
I guess this would be to Wes. All the property owners that this involves are contacted, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And everybody has the opportunity to voice their opinion
Yes, sir.
at that time? And that's
Absolutely.
all taken into consideration before this moves on?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other? Yes, Mr. Markentile.
As I'm sure Mr. Burley knows, this area here, that's a lot of land. The railroad tracks is there and Houston River's not too far from it. So when they come forward, they really need to have a good plan on water flow. Because that's a lot of land to start putting houses, driveways, culverts, roads.
This is going to.
Yes, sir. Mr. Morgantown, all this is to study to see about maybe rezoning the property. We don't have anything right now in terms of somebody wanting to develop any of the
Okay.
property, so we
I
hope so.
knew it was coming because
Yeah, we
that-
hope
that
so
road's going,
eventually,
yeah.
but, right now.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Mr. Tremonti.
So, Mr. Burley, is this the land that's going to be, that we're talking about along Coach Williams Boulevard?
It's
Back to
on the-
what Sassaw
It's
Ball?
toward the north end even at the corners, on both corners there, Houston River Road, but it goes south to about where the dirt pits are out in the middle.
Yeah, okay.
Most people don't know are still out there. And then there's also some property that's on the north side of Houston River Road.
I got you.
Across from there,
Across where that house sets back?
where Mike Hook's ranch and all that was through there. In
Okay.
that area.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
No problem. Any other discussion? Any objection? That motion carries. Item 10, consideration of adopting a resolution ratifying the execution of a local government proclamation of pending state of emergency excluded on June 5th, 2020, with reference to Tropical Storm Cristobal. I have a motion by Mr. Barris and a second by Mr. Abshar. Is there any discussion? Any objection? That motion will carry. Item 11, consideration of adopting resolutions where applicable for each of the following items as requested by the Human Services Department. Item A, approving a sub-recipient agreement with the Louisiana Housing Corporation to provide grant assistance to units in general local government to meet eligible costs in connection with emergency shelter of homeless persons, association with the In CARES Act. I have a motion by Mr. Abshar and it's, oh, I still got to have some more, I'm sorry. Item B, certifying that the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury Housing Choice Voucher Program is categorically excluded from activities because it is tenant-based rental assistance program. Item C, approving a memorandum of understanding and local funding mechanism between the required one-stop operator partners relative to the operations of the Louisiana Workforce Department Area 51. Item D, acknowledging the submittal of minutes from the Calcasieu Parish Human Services Advisory Board for a meeting held on November 19, 2019. I have a motion on all bullets by Mr. Abshar and a second by Mr. Andrew Point. Is there any discussion? Any objection? That motion will carry. Item 12, consideration of adopting resolutions approving the following contracts. Item A, professional architectural contract for the 3001 Industrial Avenue second floor modifications and improvement project. Item B, professional engineering contract for the downtown parking and improvements
Move on
project.
12, A and B.
I have a motion by Mr. Stelly and a second by Mr. Brame. Mr. Landry.
I need somebody to explain B.
We'll ask Dean
We
Kelly.
building the parking garage finally, or what's going on here?
This is, while he's coming up, Mr. Landry, this is for the parking lot across from that building.
Mr. Landry, did you read your email yesterday?
I don't read emails all the time because I'm busy. I answer my phone when people call me, and I take care of them. When are we going to build the Francis Andrew Pont parking garage? That's what I want to know. And let's hope it don't have to have the word memorial into it. Go ahead, you got the floor.
Let me try that one. I'll let Dean explain this particular one. Because of the judicial center complex, that's a very big project, that needs to come first because we need the lay-down yard and everything else associated, and then the garage would be done right after that. And I know that's not what people want to hear, but the judicial building that we need to build is a very high priority. The good news with what Dean's about to explain to you is it's going to give some relief in the interim on parking. It's actually not just across from 901. It includes property y'all purchased to add parking to that's all a part of this project. So it's some good news.
So in like one paragraph, a short paragraph or less, where might this, tell us where it's going to be.
Okay, in this project, we're going to not only revamp the 901 parking lot that you have between this building and the Ryan Street to overlay that, the needed maintenance it needs, but we'll also expand the parking area that is south of Gill Street, where the two big oak trees are. The land that y'all bought several years ago, that was done in preparation for the building of the Family and Juvenile Court project. Because in that project, the parking garage has to come down, so we need to expand some parking.
You're not going to kill the trees, are you?
No, sir, that is not the plan.
Okay, thank you, Dean.
Any other discussion? Any objection? That motion carried, both bullets. Item 13.
So moved.
Consideration of adopting a resolution approving the submittal of CARES Act applications to the state of Louisiana for the Coronavirus Relief Fund. I have a motion by Mr. Anderpont and a second by Mr. Burley. Is there any discussion? Any objection? That motion carries. Item 14.
Move on 14. all
Consideration
bullets.
of adopting resolutions approving the following items in response to the 2019 novel coronavirus outbreak. Item A, Police Jury Section 125 Flexible Benefits Plan, 125. Item A1, approving amendments to the cafeteria plan to be effective January 1st, 2020. Item 2, approving adoption agreements between the police jury and the Special Services District. Item B, police jury medical plan documents. Item 1, eligible plan services to include costs associated with COVID-19 testing and treatment at 100%, and extend eligibility and enrollment during the outbreak for retirees returning to the active status. I have a motion by Mr. Hayes and a second by Mr. Smith. Mr. Landry,
I'm good, thank you.
any other discussion? Mr. Barris.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, because I know there's some places that have the instant test that I don't know. For some reason, those are cash only. I mean, is this going to treat or cover those types of things, or have y'all maybe heard of those?
Mr. Barris, this is I think what you call a mic's still red.
It's a sign.
Kelly Fondo is here from Finance to explain this. I don't know about the test, but this is what I'd call housekeeping for our policies because of the COVID. But that specific question, Kelly, I don't know. Maybe you can help.
Have you heard of what I'm talking about? Like some people's insurance are covering some, but then these certain tests that are, I don't know what makes them different, but they're cash. Certain insurances don't cover it.
That specific question, it's Kelly Fontenot, Division of Finance. We cover the general testing. I would have to look into the specifics of the instant testing side.
Cool.
This is just covering it at 100% and making some different telemedicine available to them, because that's pretty much what the doctors are doing now when they could.
Well, thank y'all for being out in front of this, because yeah, it's different time, different age, so that's awesome that you guys are out in front of it. Thanks.
Any other discussion? Any objection? That motion carried. Item 15, consideration of adopting a resolution authorizing the parish purchasing agent to utilize state contracts with various vendors for emergency response products and service. I have a motion by Mr. Brame and a second by Mr. Abshar. Is there any discussion? Any objection? That motion carries. Item 16, consideration of authorizing the parish purchasing agent to advertise for the bids and/or professional services for the following projects. Item A, Lake Charles Health Unit, second floor modifications project.
We're on 16 all votes.
Second.
Item B, Calcasieu Parish Facility Backflow Preventer Maintenance and Improvement Projects. Item C, request for proposals for watershed coordination services. I have a motion for all bullets on 16 by Mr. Burley and a second by Mr. Markentile. Is there any discussion? Any objection? That motion carries. Item 17, take appropriate action on the following bids and/or quotes received by the parish purchasing agent. Item A, June 3rd, 2020, overlaying of various roads in Ward 4, and the parish engineer recommends that the low bid in the amount of $2,769,940.52 of RE Height Construction, LLC, be accepted. Item B, June 3rd, 2020, Public Works Awning Project. Staff recommends that the low responsive quote in the amount of $103,500 of Shannon Smith Construction, LLC, be accepted. I have a motion.
Discussion.
Okay, let me get the motion in a second.
So moved.
Oh, I have a motion by Mr. Barris and a second by Mr. Smith. This is Mr. Barris.
Thank you. As always, Mr. Connor, remind these road construction companies, please, to keep up their workspace throughout the duration of the project. That's a big deal. And also, what is the Public Works awning? What is that?
Mr. Barris, I'll let Dean Kelly come up. It's a misnomer. It's much more than an awning, but I'm sorry, Alan's here for the Public Works.
Alan, if you just say your name and department for the record.
Misnomer.
This is Alan Wainwright, Department of Public Works Director. So this awning, these are some additions to the existing facilities. As we got back into this era of COVID, the way we have to stack our, as our guys come in to work in the mornings, we have to enter in a very specific way to keep all our distance. And so these are some setups to allow us to do that. It's not just awning work like Brian was saying. There's some concrete work and some things like that also to tie it all in to where if it's a bad weather day, they're not just standing out in the middle of the rain. So we're really trying to get ready for those days.
Good deal.
Thank you, Mr. Wainwright.
Probably the first misnomer since I've been here.
Any other discussion? Any objection? That motion carries. Item 19. No, I'm sorry, item 18. Consideration of accepting the Israel LaFleur upgrades and improvements project as substantially complete. I have a motion by Mr. Brain and a second by Mr. Hayes. Is there any discussion? Yes, discussion. Mr. Burley.
Thank you, Mr. President. Is this the corrections that we did on the concrete going down to the boat launches there?
No.
Okay.
No, sir, that's Pale Lake Park you're talking about, boat launch. This is across this is on the 210 side, the north side.
Okay.
And south side, excuse me.
What did this project entail?
We can get Mr. Kelly here. He can kind of fill you in on what the latest is on
Mr.
that
Kelly,
project.
state your name and department, please, for the record.
Dean Kelly, Director of Facility Management. This project was put together to handle some to mitigate erosion issues that we've had at LaFleur Park for many years. In the picture that you can see behind you, we've overlaid the site plan for this project over top of a Google Earth image. A few weeks ago, we talked about the old Burnout Bridge project and how we encapsulated that peninsula with vinyl sheet pile wall to mitigate against future erosion. This is a much bigger scale of the same type of project. We've done about half of it now. The next phase will be the north side. We've also, in this project, we created a fishing wharf that is ADA accessible. We created here's a few of the pictures as they are now. Nice little parking area. These are before pictures. The erosion got the whole way up to the road here. So it was pretty substantial. Total project cost was 1.6. I believe with this plan, we have hopefully solved the erosion issue there on that south side.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Any other discussion? Mr. Brain, I'm sorry, Mr. Brain, didn't you have your hand up?
Well, no, I think Dean pretty much explained it. I just wanted to tell everybody that it is really,
Put your mic on.
a nice, what we did was great, because, and I'm glad this is on the agenda tonight, so we can actually remove some of the barricades, because people are out there already enjoying it. But if y'all get a chance to go out there and look at it, I do want to ask Dean real quick, you know, when you talked about the north side, are we gonna, so we're gonna add some bathrooms out there eventually in some phase or whatever, and also when we do the north side, are we gonna leave a space for a kayak to be able to launch?
And Mr. Brain, if you can talk into the mic.
I'm sorry, Mr. President.
Yes, sir. The scope of work for the north side is to continue the sheet pile wall, but also to create a new boat launch, bathrooms. There is a kayak launch on the north side now. It will be enhanced. We hope to, in that scope of work, we hope to include an accessible kayak launch. We think it'll be first class when we're done.
Good. Yeah, it's a nice facility, and you did a great job on it, Dean, and I know Keelan did as well, so thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
No problem. Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Any other discussion? Any objection? That motion carried. Item 19, consideration of authorizing the Director of Division of Planning and Development to notify the following property owners to show cause at a public hearing on August the 6th, 2020, as to why the structures on the properties as stipulated should not be condemned. Item A, 616 Morrill Road. Item B, 7541 Ling Road. Item C, 6551 The Blue Lane. Item D, 3784 Outback Lane. Item E, 1334 Mitchell Road. Item F, 1265 Rick Mayton Cemetery Road. Item G, 54 Highway 90. I need a motion.
Motion on 19, all bullets.
I got a motion from Mr. Abshar
Second.
and,
I mean, Mr. Richard, I'm sorry.
okay, and a second by Mr. Richard.
Mr. President.
And question, Mr. Barrett.
Thank you. I don't know who this goes to. The Highway 90 West, is that something that the railroad acquired from someone, like a right-of-way type? It has a house and an accessory building on their property. Is that just something
I'm not sure, Mr. Barrett. I'd have to look in the file to see.
He knows.
So I can find out for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Richard.
Thank you, Mr. President. On A, Morrill Road, wasn't that voted on already to have removed? I think way before the virus started. I thought this property was voted on to have it demolished and removed. Is that?
Mr. Richard, I'm not sure. I'd have to find out. I mean, normally, if we've acted on it, we wouldn't have it on this agenda, so I can check and see.
Yeah, it was on the agenda. I didn't know what was the status on it, though. It's still there.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. Smith.
Oh, no question.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Any objection? That motion will carry. We're going to go back to item 2. No,
Mr. President, you're going to have to wait about 3 minutes.
yes, we're going to take a 3-minute pause. We're going to start the meeting off with number 4. Hold a public hearing at 6. Mr. Crane, state your name and department for me.
Wes Crane, Director of Planning and Development.
Ordering said owners to show cause as to why the structure on said property should not be condemned. 193 Goodman Road, East Lake Charles area, Ward 3. Miss Yvonne?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ms. Yvonne, state your name.
Know who I'm talking to?
Right here. State your name and address for the record, Ms. Yvonne.
Yvonne Lane, 1951 Goodman Road.
Can't hear.
Point of order, Mr. President, we can't hear on this side.
Is it on? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. 195, I reside at 195 North Goodman Road. 193 North Goodman Road was my primary residence. I came before y'all before, and we were trying to get Ms. Troxy in Baton Rouge to approve for us to fix the front wall on this unit. He showed you pictures of the inside. I have over $3,000 worth of stuff that was sitting on the outside ready to work on it, but never could get approval from Ms. Troxy. We were gonna try to, we just decided we didn't want to deal with it anymore because I personally can't deal with it. In December, my son was shot here in Lake Charles and is paralyzed now. So on top of my husband on dialysis and needing a kidney transplant, I'm taking care of his 2 babies, which are 1 and 2, and now my son is paralyzed. So I couldn't get to any of the stuff in December because I was with him in Toro, and rehab, having surgery on his back, blase, blase. When we did come back, and it was time for us to go and get the permit, because we decided we were gonna tear it down, not because anybody wanted us to, but just because we were tired of dealing with it, and we're just gonna get another structure to put there, to be able to be handicap accessible for my son. We went to go try to get permits and we couldn't. When they opened up the permits office and we were able to do that, I did go get a permit to demo the property. But immediately, once I got the permit to demo the property, I was having problems with the parish. We were loading stuff on the trailer to haul off to the dump. We had to take everything out the inside first. So everything had to come out the inside first. Taking everything out the inside, putting it on the trailer. People from the parish were coming by saying, you can't have stuff on the trailer. We're gonna have contractors come and take your trailer and haul it off if you don't go dump it. I'm like, we've already made 3 trips in one day. You don't know what's on this trailer. Threatening to come on my property and take my stuff. So I had to finally call Mr. David Robinson to come to my house and talk, because I've been in communication with him the whole time. And told him, look, I have a permit. Like, why are you coming on my property telling me, threatening to take stuff, telling me I can't put stuff at the road? We no longer apparently can we put trash by the road. We had gotten a list of what can go to the street and what needed to go to the dump. The stuff that could go to the street, we put it to the street. Waste Management never picked it up for like 3 weeks. So we ended up having to haul it off to the dump. They had come and tried to tag me for that. So no matter what we've tried to do, like the last couple of weeks since we've been able to kind of go outside and mingle and stuff, have I been able to do anything? But I do have the permit, and we have been working on it. We've got, matter of fact, there's nothing left in the inside of the home. We've gotten everything out. It's at the dump. I have pictures of the inside of it if y'all want to see. It's on my phone though. But there's nothing inside of the unit. We hauled everything that was good to the storage, everything that was bad, we hauled it to the dump. The only thing that's still inside is that refrigerator in that room right there. But we pulled the flooring up. And let me just say that it's hard for me because this home was purchased it's not even 10 years old. But if the neighbors would have took care of their property and the parish would have made them cut their grass and we wouldn't have had rats coming out of their field, they wouldn't have ate through the wall and I wouldn't have had mold in my walls on top of the OSB not being on there. So our neighbors have trees along the street, been there for a month and a half. I've complained. I've had wrecks at that curve. At least 4 people have hit trees at that curve and they've not done
Ms.
anything.
Yvonne, let's stick to just this.
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to let y'all know what we've been going through. So I do want y'all to know I do have a permit to tear the unit down. I would appreciate it if the parish would quit coming and, I don't know who's coming and who's sending these people, but it's ridiculous because it stops what I'm trying to do. And I'm only one person. I have me and my 16-year-old son who's doing this by ourselves. You know, on top of trying to take care of my sick husband, my paralyzed son, and 2 grandbabies. So if they come and mess with me every single day, I can't get anything done.
Mr. President, can we hear from
Yes,
Mr. Crane?
I'm sorry.
Well, and Mr. President, I'll
Yes,
also
Mr.
say, I
Yeah.
know we have one speaker
Yes.
for this public hearing who wants to speak as well.
Yes.
So, and maybe before we do take questions,
Yes.
if we hear from the other person.
Yes, Ms. Yvonne, how we're gonna do this, you're just gonna step right outside?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Yvonne, if you could just step out and I have someone else coming in. Lonnie Thomas, is it a guy or girl? Sam, what, 3 minutes?
3 minutes.
Okay. Mr. Lonnie, right here.
Great.
State your name and address for the record, Mr. Lonnie, and we're gonna allow you up to 3 minutes.
Okay. My name is Lonnie Thomas. My address is 4220 Opelousas Street, Lake Charles, Louisiana, 70615. I'm here just to state that, and then perhaps ask a question. You hear about the problems and the concern, you sympathize with people and things,
because of their problems, their health issues and things like that. But that doesn't solve problems. That problem there needs to be taken care of another way. I think our police juror issue is that we need to clean up our areas, and it starts at home first. We need to take care of our home. We can't depend on the parish to do it all. And if we show some pride in taking care of our home and getting rid of things that shouldn't be out there and laying them all out in front, perhaps we can have some business that the community needs to come in and provide for the community. But it starts at home first. I don't know the policies and procedures and the codes that's required when moving trailers in and out of a community. But if they come in there looking bad, what do you expect others to come there and do? So we need to look at these trailers before they be moved into an area. We need to stick to the standard, property standards, and do what's right. Again, I sympathize with people with their health issues and things like that, but we wait, and nothing happens. It's time to make a change. Somebody have to make a move and do something, because if we got serious health problem and we're living in a condition that is unlivable, it's not going to help our health issues.
Mr. Lonnie, are you against the project? You want to?
I'm for condemnation.
1 minute.
I'd like to see it condemned. We're in a movement now with our new police jurymen. We're trying to clean up our community, get people to straighten up their properties, and that's where it starts again. With our new police juryman, this has been going on before him, but this area here has been kind of like neglected. And just across the street from me yesterday,
30 seconds.
someone piled a whole bunch of car parts and stuff on the property out to the front of the road. So, and this is what you're gonna see, if people just abandoning, throwing things on vacant property when they see homes like this. I yield my
Mr.
time.
Smith, we're gonna let that young lady come back, and then we're gonna get you back in for your questions and everything.
Thank you.
Okay. So we can stand right outside, Mr. Thomas. Mr. Thomas.
I don't think he touched it. Did he touch it? Did he touch it?
Mr. President, we've heard all the public comment. At this point, the issue before you is whether the structure needs to be condemned or not.
Okay.
If jurors certainly have questions for Mr. Crane or the other speakers, you can certainly call them back in, but public comment is really done.
Okay. Okay. You can let them.
No, we're just hang tight.
Let me see. Mr. Landry.
Thank you, Mr. President. Okay, so we've actually never condemned. We just kept postponing, giving them a chance to do what have you, and we're right where we were. How many months ago did this start, Mr. Crane?
Well, y'all actually gave, y'all deferred action on this on June the 20th and July the 18th of 2019.
Oh, my gosh.
And so this has been in this condition the inspector did an inspection on it and did our inspection report on February the 14th, 2019. So this has been in this condition for a long time.
Yeah, and
And so we gave the opportunity for Ms. Blinan and the person to try to work out their difference in terms of the sale of that trailer or whatever. It has not happened.
Yeah.
And she's correct. She did come in and get a permit for demolition, which is good. We are recommending, the planning department, we're recommending that it be condemned and removed in 30 days.
Yeah.
That's our
Which will still give her an opportunity. If she can do it within 30 days,
It's going to give her the
it's fine.
opportunity. I have the authority under the ordinance to give an extension of time, as long as she's working on it. but I think 30 days is plenty.
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate. I mean, and I know over the years, anybody that comes and has asked for time and help, I think we've.
You've done that.
Right, over the years, we've really done that, but you know, that's a long time for the neighbors and all to put up with it. And I know Mr. Smith evidently is probably still getting phone calls, probably quite often. I mean, it's just unfortunate, but, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lance. Mr. Stelly.
Wes, I have a question for you. The lady was saying about the parish going out there and telling her she can and can't do this and that. What is that all about? Do you know?
I'm not aware that either my staff or someone else is going out there, especially on a daily basis. We typically don't do that, go out there on a daily basis.
Has someone instructed her that Waste Management is not going to pick the trash up on the side of the road?
I do not know. I don't know that.
Can we bring her in and ask her if someone has told her that Waste Management's not going to pick anything up? She's got to take care of it all. Does she know that?
Probably not.
I can. Hold on, Mr. Ashton.
I'm done. I mean,
You done? You done?
Are we going to get?
Okay.
That was a
My
question.
question hasn't been answered, but I mean,
I mean, we can inform her, if that's not going to qualify for Waste Management to pick that, whatever's out there. I'm not sure what she's putting out to the road.
is there anything that qualifies for them to pick it up now that we have these dump stations? I don't think so, huh?
I'd have to see what our contract is.
Brian,
Okay. Mr. Bean.
Mr. Stelly.
Someone ahead of you.
Mr. Stelly, there are definitely some things you can still put out. Just because we have the convenience centers, that doesn't mean people can't place legitimate, or let me rephrase that, within the rules, you can still put things at the curb. In this case, I don't know the details, but if it's not picked up, they typically, Waste Management will tag it saying this is not eligible. My guess is that some things, and she mentioned she brought some things to the curb and others to a dump. Most of these things probably would not be eligible at the curb because it's what you might call construction debris. And that's not what solid waste pickup at the house is about. Now, you can put out a couch or something, but I doubt much of this could be just put out on the road and be expected to be picked up. And it should be tagged, but I don't know in that particular case.
Mr. Crane.
Well, I was going to follow up on that. I'm not sure what her intention is in terms of demo in this house, but if it's her intention to remove everything from this house and place it on the road, I don't think that's going to fly.
No.
And so, I mean, most of this, the material that you take off of these mobile homes has to go to a dump, And so typically that's why a contractor does that, because they're allowed to go to the dump and they pay a fee to dump it. So.
You can finish, Mr. Stelly.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Andrepont.
What is the explanation of why this was deferred for a year? I mean, I'm scratching my head when I'm looking at these pictures. What prompted this being deferred and deferred again for that length of time?
Well, I think there was an issue with the sale of this mobile home between two owners, and it was deferred to try to get them to work out their difference, because Ms. Lannon, she indicated that there was paperwork done, that she paid someone for this, and that other person didn't sign the paper, so we were letting them try to work that out, and it just never has happened.
Well, I commend the staff members are going out. I mean, I recognize the gentleman that spoke and his concerns, and I get that of your staff members going out to
encourage her to take care of business with this. So I think the jury's been very patient, and
I think
I'm
you have
prepared to
too.
vote. So-
Yeah, I think the jury's been very patient and yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Andrew Park. Mr. Barris.
Thank you. I sat here and listened to the lady specifically say she got a list from Waste Management, and she fully understands what can and cannot go to the road or to the, to the road, what they will and won't pick up, and then what she can't bring, what she has to bring to the solid waste convenience centers. So I think she understands what she can and can't just throw out there. So it looks like there's a lot. So there's no question she understands what she can and can't do in that regard.
Thank you, Mr. Barris. Mr. Richard.
I'm good with questions and answers.
Okay, Mr. Marketing, I'm coming to you, Mr. Smith.
Mr. Crane, on
Yes, sir.
that permit that the lady said she got, is there a date? I mean, that it's good for?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't know if there was any, okay.
Mr. Smith.
Okay. Well, yeah, it definitely needs to be
Put
torn
your
down.
mic on, Mike.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's on.
It's on?
Okay.
Okay, well, it definitely needs to be torn down. You know, she said she had 30 days from today's date in order to get it done. I know she has an issue with the actual trash back and forth, but they are, you know, like I say, they do have the list on what they can bring, what they can't bring. I don't know if she's trying to just do it all herself, but I know, like I say, I know Waste Management will not pick up, like I say, construction parts or whatever. So the neighbors have been complaining about it. I've been getting a lot of calls myself. So I'm, like I say, I seen it being on the actual, I guess, on the agenda since last year. So I think it's time to get things in motion. Let's go for it and get it moved and get it done. Because I say that's all part of my plan to try to make the area look good again.
So your motion is to condemn?
Yes.
I have a motion to condemn by Mr. Smith and a second by Mr. Markentel. Is there any other discussion? Any objection? That motion will carry with her for what, 30 days?
Yes, sir.
Okay, with 30 days. From today or from her, once she have original?
From today.
From today, okay. Thank you, Mr. Crane.
Thank you.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Right quick, before we adjourn, just want to remind everybody to, because we're still in that coronavirus deal, to wash their hands, continue social safe distancing, wear a mask, and happy Father's Day weekend.
Right.
We are now adjourned.